Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Growth Over Grades podcast. My name is Melody McAllister, and I'm so honored to talk about educational topics that matter most to our community, where we focus more on what grows our students. And with that being said, I want to give a special shout out to our Spacetronaut community. Today, for our inaugural episode, I'm so proud and honored to welcome my friend and fellow educator and author, Dene Gainey. Dene joins us from Florida, and although we have collaborated a few times virtually, I was finally able to meet Dene at FETC this past January. Previously, I knew Dene from his work in a book we both contributed to called The Fire Within, Lessons from Defeat That Have Ignited a Passion for Learning by Mandy Freilich, and then his own book, The Journey to the Why in You. Dene is an accomplished educator who regularly shares his work through his socials. He loves sharing and knowing he is helping other educators as well as his own students. Dene, it is so nice to be with you today. How are you? And can you please tell us a little bit about your background?
I am doing great. Melody, definitely happy to be a part of this today. So thank you for that. As far as who I am Dene Gainey. I guess to start out, I am an educator that has been in the classroom for, interestingly enough, this is my 17th year, which is exciting and kind of like, wow, when did that happen? I'm an author. I am a singer and a songwriter. I am an actor. I am a motivational speaker. So if you really wanted to sort of go there, but I wear a lot of hats, and I'm really excited to be able to do all of that. I'm actually, as a side note, working on my doctoral degree as well. So soon and very soon we'll be graduating, and I'll be very, very excited to reach that finish line.
That is amazing. I love hearing that. Wow. And also, and it's not just a couple of books. Like you've been busy, like over the pandemic. You have published how many books now?
Well, I have a total of 5 that are have my name on them, and then 2 of those are plays, and the other 3 are traditional chapter-based books. Really exciting to write and be able to share, and I think experiences that you have throughout your life are definitely instrumental in being able to write books and share that with other people.
Okay, don't be shy. No, you show us those. That's what I'm trying to get you to do. Come on.
Well, you already showed us one, Journey to the Why in You, which EdgeMatch Publishing, shout out to EdgeMatch Publishing, and Dr. Sarah Thomas was able to write that book in 2018 and get that published, as well as being a contributor to many other EdgeMatch books, Snapshot in Education, which was very exciting as well. I have the first play that I wrote called Diversity. It's not just about you, it's about us. This is a play, and it's exciting because I wrote it with the intent for it to be utilized in classrooms. Why? Because understanding the power that we have as individuals is very important, but I think it's also important to understand how we play a role in a bigger picture, and thinking about that bigger picture and helping students to understand how they fit into that bigger picture is so important. So synthesizing and getting conversations started in your classroom is phenomenal. The other play that I wrote was the most recent. It's called Disqualified. And so it is based on an experience that actually occurred. However, things have changed in there to sort of make it more story-like. But this is also a play, again, to encourage conversation and dialogue in your classrooms with your students about day-to-day experiences and how their lives are theirs to live.
That's incredible. Well, good for you. So busy and everything. I love that. You're doing so much. With that being said, what are the biggest influences in your life that help you as an educator?
Well, I have to say, first and foremost, I had a first grade teacher who I always talk about because she exemplified care. Even in my first grade year, way back then. She exemplified care above and beyond what my mom and dad had already been instrumental in. She exemplified that. She showed me what it meant to care. And I think that her influence is what empowered me to make the decision that to teach, to go into education, to be able to turn on those lights for other people and inspire them. Obviously, since I've been in education, there have been many things that have happened that have aided in constant influence or constant inspiration and motivation. And I think one of them is just light bulb moments. I think just having that opportunity to see those light bulbs come on. Sometimes you don't necessarily feel like you're making your desired impact. You don't feel like it's worth it some days. Sometimes you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but lo and behold, those light bulb moments happen, and those light bulb moments spark that motivation or that flame, or rekindle that flame and help you to keep going. I think I could go on and on about influence, but I really believe that we are who we are because of our experiences. And Journey to the Why and You talks about that. And so when we lean into everything, right, lean into it, meaning the good, the bad, the ugly, because the truth is there's something in it all, right? We celebrate those amazing moments. We might get a little sidetracked and maybe even confused and about by the obstacles, but the truth is there's something good in those obstacles too. And I just found out that when I actually look for that, when I search out, well, this didn't feel good. I didn't like that it happened, but what did I gain from this experience? When I look at it like that, I end up being a better person, better for it. And I use that as an influence as well to keep me motivated to be an impact.
I love that so well. I love that so much, Dean. And the cool thing about it is that you talk about like outside influences, but you also have so many talents. Like you sing, and I love when you sing and you share it out. That's the best thing. And if actually, I'm going to drop your website, and if you go to your website, you have a song that you've written and produced and put on there. So you also influence your students by using your talents, and I just think that's amazing. How do you get past yourself to share? I know that's a little scary for people.
Well, you know what? I think it's really just taking that step. I am honored to be able to walk into the classroom with, a variety of different experiences. Like you said, the singing, the songwriting, the fact that I have served in the United States Air Force, all those things. Like I look for ways to connect those things to what and how I teach. Why do I do that? Well, I think it's not just about the teach; it's about the reach. And I've said that many times before. It's not just about the teach, it's about the reach. And so the truth about that is, yes, I am a teacher. However, I think sometimes things can go over your head, or maybe what I'm saying is not actually hitting home. And so I focus my day-to-day in the classroom on reaching them. Can I get in their head? Can I encourage them or motivate them to see that it's not just about this sitting in this classroom and this assignment? It's about being able to demonstrate lifelong learning. It's about being able to understand that learning cannot be captured fully in a 52-minute class period. Learning is something that should be happening all the time and in many different forms and many different ways. And I think that having the opportunity to live that, I can be able to share that more powerfully because I've learned and I continue to learn in all of these different ways. And I don't allow anything to stop me from engaging in that.
What do your students do? How do they react when you start singing over them, or when you start singing in class?
Well, interestingly enough, I think earlier on it might have shocked them. They weren't expecting it because I tend to be pretty spontaneous. But after a while, they begin to almost desire it. I've had students ask me to sing in the classroom. Are you going to sing for us? Even recently, last week of school is this week. Are you going to sing for us? And I said, well, maybe. But normally when I sing in the classroom, it gets quiet. And so that's all I have to do to regain the class's attention is to open up my mouth and start singing. I've had the opportunity to sing on the morning announcements, the national anthem and different things like that, just to sort of, again, reach people.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly reminded of that.
I love it. I love it. I just love when you sing. I'm sorry. We'll move on. But and you talk about, so the end of the year is coming this week, and I want to ask you two things, and you can whatever order you want to answer them in. But I want to talk about the best and worst things about this past school year, or how do you showcase growth over grades? Since we're talking about reflection, the end of the year, we naturally do that. Which would you like to talk about first?
Well, I just love how even those two questions kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
And I'm gonna hopefully be able to nail why it goes hand in hand. So this year, if I'm to be 100% transparent, which I certainly want to be, I thought last year was challenging. With the whole distance learning experience and trying to again remember how important it is to reach kids, and so trying to maintain what it feels like to be in the classroom even though you're doing that at a distance. However, I would say this year has been really interesting too, and I don't know if I would say worse than last year or more challenging than last year or less challenging, but certainly challenging indeed. I think when you get out of the habit of doing something, it's harder to get back in that habit. And so I think this year was more exhausting because I found myself working doubly and triply hard to reinvigorate, to relight those candles that either became dim or had gone out completely, and to show students what learning really was about again. And this is important. And it's not important because of the grade that's going to go on your report card. It's important because when you learn, and when you can do. And so knowledge, maybe it's cliche, but knowledge is power. That's absolutely true. And then others would say knowing is half the battle. That's also absolutely true. Because when I know something, I have the ability to do. And so the more I know, the more I can do. And I believe that it's a cyclical thing because the more I do, the more I know. And the more I know, the more I can do. And so it really, talking about growth over grades, it takes the limits off, right? I'm not doing this so I can get that 100% on my report card. Yes, that's great. It looks amazing. I know that, there are different areas of our world and country that, still utilize grades, and I understand that they have purpose. However, they should never be at the point where they limit learning. Like if I get to this point, okay, I've achieved, I'm done, right? Because learning is not something that can be captured with a grading scale. I really feel like it's important to instill that desire and love for learning, regardless of whether or not it's going to be reported every 9 weeks.
Right.
I really feel like it's important to understand the value of learning intrinsically, moreover than the extrinsic rewards. I see that as bonus, if you will, right? But I learn because I want to know. I really have a genuine desire to know, and it makes me more of an asset, right? It makes me more of a person who is able to do whatever because I took the time to learn. And I understand that this learning is not necessarily for anybody else. It's going to make me a better person. It gives me the opportunity to be the best version of myself.
I
Right.
love
So
that too. Yeah.
growth over grades all day.
Right? And so, you talked about how, like, just coming back this last school year from the previous school year, getting back into that habit. Do you feel like you were successful, that your students were successful in coming back, and was it worth it for you?
I would say yes. That is not without challenge. There's always going to be challenge, and I think we have to embrace that. Um, but one thing I will say is, even in terms of growth over grades, how do you really orchestrate or facilitate growth? You
Mhm.
really have to look at the individual child, right? And instead of that content, which that content is amazing, right? We need content, we need to be able to learn, but how does that content connect to a person? What does that person need? How do I help the student? Um, and so that has to be the driving force, because there's been many times that I've gone off script because I realized, oh, we need to go down this way today instead of that way. or we need to spend more time on this, or okay, you guys got this, let's move on to the next, growth moment. I believe it's important to understand that yes, these kids um, had a challenging year. However, there's a lot of good things that happen. I think that when I realized that, okay, let's focus on these students, and I knew that already, but when I was intentional about my decision to say, okay, let's lean into, okay, this challenge happened. Yes, but let's lean into how I can utilize this challenge to dig deeper or to circle back or to allow real learning to occur despite the obstacles or setbacks that we all experience.
Exactly. And thank you for those who are watching live. One of the comments that I want to highlight, especially, is Jean says, and some things you learn are more important than class content. And I think that we all agree. The things that our students have learned over the last few years, and maybe it wasn't in the typical fashion that we like to meet all of our standards, but what they've learned, what we've all learned, is way more important. And we're still here. So that's incredible, and that just that alone. I want to ask you, because you and I share something in common as well. We are both at FETC. We both love the EdTech space, as I'm sure a lot of the people, the educators that are watching. How has technology changed or impacted your teaching practices?
So, well, that's a loaded question. We know technology is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And I'm glad. I love technology. My master's degree is in instructional technology, and I really feel like that has empowered me even more so to reach kids. Um, we all know that they're using technology, maybe even more than all of us are at times. Everybody has a phone, everybody has that PlayStation, everybody has that Nintendo Switch. And even, everybody knows how to use Minecraft. I took a poll of my students at one point, and I mean, it was literally 85, 90% of my class had used Minecraft in the past for a specific reason. And they were able to jump into a recent project that was assigned because of that. And so, why is technology important? Well, I believe that it makes the reach easier. There are times when kids are out. I have to be able to reach them. It's engaging. Um, you throw out a technology project of any sort, for some reason it just gets those juices flowing in the creative minds of your students, and they're ready to create. I'm ready to create when I sit down with some technology, and I just realized that without that technology, wow, what would I have done? Where would I have been without it? It just makes my thought process go a little bit further, because now I have these tools that I can use to create or innovate or transform. I mean, really, technology is transformative. I say that all with the understanding that the technology is not the teacher, right? These are tools. These are tools that augment or supplement the learning experiences in the classroom. But I use technology every single day, and I find myself using technology to do just that, augment. Right? We're learning about this skill or this idea. How do I incorporate technology into this focus so that it extends the learning opportunities for students, or it allows them to demonstrate or showcase, right, their learning? And when I think about even Spaces, right, Spaces is designed for that. It's designed to actually show or highlight growth. I can't necessarily put a number on, the student that realized that, oh, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense now after I did these 3 steps or these 4 steps I went through, and I realized, oh, I didn't know that I had to fix that. How do you really put a number on that, to be honest, right? That's growth. And so technology allows students to be able to demonstrate mastery or to demonstrate learning in a variety of different ways. A lot of cases in a way that is best suitable for them, that they choose.
Yeah, and everything that you're saying resonates with me so much, because technology in itself, to me, I don't care about, like, just tech for tech. Like, some people really love just anything techie, and I'm just not that way. Like, I still read books. I like holding books more than I like reading them off my phone. But what you hit the nail on the head with is, like, whatever makes it better for your students, like giving the students the ability to reflect, giving your students the ability to actually demonstrate what they're learning, or using something that they love like Minecraft and putting it into the classroom. I love all that you're saying, and that's why tech and ed tech is so important, why we junkies kind of love it, right? You talked about spaces. Are there any other like ed tech platforms that you use a lot that really demonstrate growth for your students?
Absolutely. And so we have used Book Creator, we have used Canva, we have used Adobe Spark, we have used even some of the iOS applications, and that's just naming a few. One of the things I'm happy about is that I was able to introduce students to a variety of different platforms this year. And we talked about, well, how could this platform be used? We had a
Mhm.
conversation about that, a discussion about that, because just because it's out there doesn't mean it's going to serve our purpose. And so when they know what they're doing and they're able to identify a medium or a platform that they can use to accomplish that, that's real. To me, that's monumental, because
Mhm.
now that's empowerment. Now that says to them, well, now that I know the ins and outs of this platform, I can use this 3 years from now in a class where I have to do this project. I know how to use it now. I know why I'm doing it. And how do you stop a kid from learning when they know what they're doing and why?
You can't. This is a train. It's coming. I love it. Yes. Yes. So, what is one piece? We came up with all of these like questions and like we're just going through them so quickly. I love this. But what is some wisdom? And I say one piece of wisdom, but what is some wisdom that you'd like to share with other educators? And it doesn't have to just be one thing. What are some things that you've learned, maybe even more so over teaching through the pandemic, that you feel like would help others?
Um, well, I think the first thing is just sometimes you don't realize the level of influence that you're having. And I call it unknown influence. I believe that there are so many things that can cloud our view of progress, or cloud our view of, are we making a difference, cloud our view of, am I doing enough, cloud our view of, what can I do, right, to do more, or, and so I think that we have to understand that truly, um, there are a lot of reasons for us to understand that we are making a difference. We are actually influencing these kids more than we realize. Um, and so there's a whole lot more I could probably go down a rabbit hole on that, but there's a whole lot more I can say with regards to that. But in terms of wisdom, know that nothing you are doing in the classroom is falling on deaf ears. It may not necessarily look like that or seem like that in the moment, but down the road you realize, oh, they were listening, or they caught that. I didn't think they caught that. And it'll come up in moments where you almost caught off guard, like you weren't expecting to hear it, but all this time they were actually paying attention to you. So I think that's number one. Number two, we kind of highlighted this earlier, but students as people, not just learners.
Right.
And so I think that's important, because then we get a chance to identify how important it is to, yes, deliver content, but at the same time deliver life skills. We're preparing them for life, and sometimes that's a motivational speech.
Yeah.
Sometimes, some people call this a come to Jesus moment. Sometimes it's those come to Jesus moments. You need to have a reality check with them, have that deep philosophical conversation that makes them think, that makes them question, that makes them curious, that makes them wonder, that makes them think about 3 years down the road, where will they be? Those conversations right there, you're still teaching. In fact, I would even submit that you're teaching a whole lot deeper than you would be if you were just covering content, and you are accomplishing a whole lot more than you ever planned to accomplish in those 30 minutes of having that Socratic conversation with students in the classroom. I think, again, another thing too is wisdom. As far as wisdom is, um, don't be afraid to let students lead, LEAD.
Mm.
Um,
Oh my gosh,
because
say it again. Shout it.
don't be afraid to let students lead. They're looking for it. They want it. And when you cultivate an environment in the classroom that empowers them to want to lead and take those leadership opportunities, listen, it's time to let them do it. We are no less of a teacher when we allow students to lead. In fact, I would submit that we're more of a teacher when we let them lead, because we are identifying that they have these qualities and traits that need to be actualized, that need to be realized, that need to be practiced and developed. I have a teaching philosophy, and it's called CLIMB, CLIMBE. If you read chapter 2 of Journey to the Y and U, it talks a little bit about that philosophy and why I adhere to it like it's the gospel. Because I realize in order for students to climb, CLIMBE, right, in order for them to really be able to do that, we have to cultivate. We have to get the ground ready, right? When we garden, when we farm, if that ground's not right, that seed going down in that soil will not produce the end result because the ground has not been cultivated, right? So we cultivate our kids. Then we lead, right? When we lead, they can lead because now they see what leadership looks like. They have examples of that. Inspiration or inspire is the I. We talked about that today. Turning those light bulbs on, sparking that match or that flame for them, so that they can see, oh, there are so many things out there for me. There's so many things I can do. Motivate, build, and sometimes it's not building necessarily a structure, but building character, right? Those things that are intrinsic, that desire to practice integrity or responsibility or being trustworthy. And then, of course, the E is empower. And to me, empower, even though it comes at the end of climb, it's actually happening throughout climb, right? And so empowerment is happening all the time. And when students lead, you get an opportunity to facilitate, right? And instead of being in the front all the time, students realize that they are empowered to be. And I'm
Yeah.
going to leave that right there. They are empowered to be. And when you let them be, they will be.
That's awesome. Okay, like, I feel like you took me to church, and I love it. I'm here for it. I appreciate it. I wanna mention a couple of comments that came through. Thank you so much, those of you who are viewing, watching us live and chatting with us. Dr. Eileen Winokur says that student agency to make decisions, and you mentioned that as well. And I think these are all qualities that amazing teachers like that allow their students to take the reins and lead. These are things that teachers that are amazing are doing. Jean says SEL and social interactions were a priority this past year to make up for the COVID remote isolation. Totally agree, Jean. And yes, and also she said meet students where they are with what they need. And I think that you're doing that. I think amazing teachers are doing that as best they can, and they're probably super tired. And Jane, I don't want this to go unnoticed, but it's the last week of school for you, but you seem to like just kind of exude this positivity and this amazing energy, and I love it. I'm a fan of yours, and if you actually want to see Dean some more, I put this in the comments, but he's going to be in a couple of webinars coming up, and I will be sure to get those links out there. I've already dropped them, but when this goes live, or when we put the replay out, I'll for sure include those. And you talk a lot about climb, so we're going to get even deeper into that. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this today, for being our very first episode, Growth Over Grades podcast. I couldn't have thought of a better person to do that today, so I'm so glad and thankful that you joined us. And before we say goodbye, I want to thank everybody who tuned in live, and thank everybody who tunes into the replay. But do you have any last words that you'd like to share, Dean?
Well, there's always something else I could share, but let's see. What if I loved intentionally? What if I strive to be the best I could be? What if I saw the good in others? What if I put others before me? This world would be a better place. We'd live in harmony. Helping each other would transform society. That was a little piece of the song What If. That was an originally written song. And so I believe that is on my website as well. Feel free to check that one out. And it's probably published. I think I published that in a few places.
You did.
But that was something else that also was inspired by classroom instruction, teaching, and learning. So feel free to listen to it. It speaks volumes.
I love it. It's beautiful. I'm so glad that you sang for us today, because that's one of the best things. When I'm around you, I love your energy and your, yes, bravo. Jean says bravo. Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Jean.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, we appreciate that you're part of our community and that you're celebrating growth over grades along with us. Take care, and we'll see you again. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.